Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is not Sylvia. This is Jenny. And we are delighted to have you here for another episode of Your Next 50. Ladies, we are here to tell you that it's your time. Be intentional with your choices. Don't waste even one more day hiding in your stories. You can reclaim your personal power and be happy while doing it. And this podcast will show you how. Welcome, Sylvia. I'm Jenny.
I'm Sylvia, and we have a special guest. And just before we introduce our special guest, Cassie Biltz, Jenny, that was amazing.
How was that?
Yeah, that was great. I think you should do it all the time.
I think we're going to be hearing more of this camaraderie and more of this teamwork. And, we're all about changing it up and trying new things here on Your Next 50.
That's it. Get you out of your discomfort zone. But you did amazingly well. You
Thank
are
you.
good. Cassie, we have my friend Cassie is with us today. And we had the pleasure of being on her podcast a while back.
A couple weeks ago.
And it was so much fun. We said we have to get her on ours. And I know Cassie through a group, a transformational coaching program, but that has a large component of spirituality. But people who go into the program don't know that necessarily, and it all comes out as we move throughout the program. But Cassie, I rather than me introduce you, I would love to hear you introduce yourselves. Tell us who you are.
Yes.
Highlight what you'd like.
Hi. Thanks for having me. So I'm Cassie, and I'm a hypnotherapist and business coach. And so I help female entrepreneurs, primarily is who I work with, unlock their next level of success and income through energetic alignment, subconscious reprogramming, and I do intertwine spirituality into my work as well.
And where are you located, Cassie? And tell us, you weren't always a hypnotherapist. There's a story there.
No, I used to be a speech language pathologist. So a very different
big change.
field. Yeah. And long story short, I spent 6 years getting educated so I could be that, became that. 6 months in, realized, oh my God, this is so not for me. I felt like my soul, truly the only way to describe it is like my soul was just crying out for something more. I didn't feel like I had any purpose. And totally different topic, but the healthcare system is pretty corrupt. And so I got sick of that very quickly. So I transitioned and started my own health and fitness coaching business, which I still have. So that was my first really successful business. And then through that health and fitness business, I really fell in love with the business side of things. Like I love health and fitness and helping people get fit, but I love teaching women how to build businesses online. So that's kind of where I've been. And then
where did the hypnotherapy come in? Was it after you started your health and fitness business?
Throughout that? Yep. So that I started using hypnosis for myself like 2 years ago, really to heal my body because nothing else was working. I had like chronic foot pain for a couple years. And, somebody who works out every day, it was getting really, really bad. So out of total desperation, I tried hypnosis with a professional hypnotist. And long story short, next day I never had any pain again. And it was actually related. A lot of our chronic pains, actually, I would say like most are due to trapped emotions in our body. So once I released that trapped emotion in the hypnosis session, like I was totally fine. And then I realized the power of it and I started using it every day for all sorts of things. And just fell in love with it because it gave me such good results. So
it's such an amazing tool. And I think I've shared that on the podcast before that I started that as well. My first foray was I had shoulder issues. And for a long time, I had to stop working out. I was lifting weights and loved lifting weights, but something happened. And and then all of a sudden, the shoulder that wasn't hurting, that I didn't hurt physically, started hurting more than the other one. So when you say there's some trapped emotion there, compensating all these things. And with hypnotherapy, it went away.
Yeah.
It was amazing. It's like an amazing aha moment. Like, ooh, what else can I do with this?
I've used it for everything. I used it to get pregnant this time. I'm pregnant right now with our second child and I was having fertility struggles and miscarriages and I used it and then, that worked out. So you can use it for pretty much everything.
Wow. So for those of you that are listening that are like, hypno what? Right? Like,
are they going to like make me crow like a chicken, right? Or a rooster?
For those of you that are not quite there yet, the piece I'd love to pick up on, and maybe Cassie can talk more about it, is sometimes there's a block, or a lot of the people I work with, there's a block between the brain and the body. And Cassie, I'd love for you to talk about how, and we box up spirituality, that's woo-woo, that's over there, that's not for business people. Tell me what does a typical client come to you with, and how do you bring in spirituality in a really friendly and warm way? Tell me more.
I love that. So first of all, spirituality isn't always friendly and warm. So I'll just tell you that right now, because you're going to have to look at things in yourself that you've been wanting to avoid, as you know. So, a lot of the women I work with, they have established businesses or maybe really successful careers, and they're very high achieving, extremely ambitious, really hard workers, but they live totally out of their head and they aren't in their heart space. And that's kind of what when you say dropping into your body, they're totally disconnected with their emotions typically. So they don't know what they're feeling, and they don't know how to feel what they're feeling. So this results in them usually working way too many hours, avoiding their feelings through hustle and striving for the next goal and next achievement. At least for the women I work with. And so yes, teaching them how to get back in their body is another aspect of what I do, because I also teach energy work, and I teach how to get in touch with your chakras, how to clear them out. But getting from your head to your heart is, what does our mentor always says? He says it's the longest distance you travel is from your head to your heart, because you have to learn to grow your or you don't have to, but it benefits you to learn how to grow your business from your heart, which is a very different energy, and actually has the electromagnetic field of the heart is something like 400 times stronger than that of your brain. So if you can learn to actually drop into your heart in terms of your energy, you actually can attract things to your life more easily as well. So that's the first thing, is if you're not connected to your body, then you're typically in fight or flight all the time, and you don't even know that that's what you're in. You have no idea.
Yeah, so profound. And I think Jenny and I are both nodding our heads here. If you're watching us, and I think this resonates so much. And Jenny was telling us and sharing before, she goes, I wish I had known about all of this way before, now. And we look at Cassie is in a period of her life. She's younger than we are. But I think we are where we are, and that's okay. So no matter where you are, if this is all new to you, one of our last workshops, Jenny, I think there was a participant, and probably a few of them, we had done a guided meditation together, and some people responded afterwards saying, I had never done one of those before. And working in this field, I just assumed that everybody does it, but that's not true. So we want to bring these new tools to you. So no matter where you are, you start somewhere. So Cassie, when someone comes to you and they're brand new and they're coming to you for business, but they know you have that spiritual side, how do you start them off? Gently? Or do you just
it's very subjective.
Throw them in the bath?
Yeah. It kind of depends on the person.
Yeah.
Oh, we've got...
It's okay. We got to pause.
We've got to pause here, but that's okay. She'll come back.
When she comes back, I'd like to talk to her about subconscious reprogramming. Wasn't that quite the statement she said?
Well, that's all about changing our stories, isn't it?
And trapping those emotions in our body. That one, it really resonates for me, Sylvia. And the idea that we trap things and we ignore them. Oh, there she is. Welcome back.
Hi. Sorry
There
about
you
that.
are. No worries. You were going to tell us when someone comes to you for the first time, how gently, and then we all giggled. So maybe it's not gentle.
Yes, sometimes it's not, because learning to sit with the things that you haven't wanted to sit with, like your emotions, especially for the women I work with, like you said, who are very driven and ambitious, we tend to overcompensate by not wanting to feel. And then that shows up as us always working on. Basically, we're doers. We're chronic doers, so we don't know how to be. So one of the first places I go with women who are like that, who I work with, is teaching them that by slowing down, you will speed up, which is counterintuitive, because we just want to go, go, go. And we have this fear that if I'm not taking massive action, then I'm not going to create success. I'm not going to get the outcomes. And it couldn't be further from the truth, which is the belief that we live in a material. Most of us operate from the material model, meaning we operate from the model of reality saying, Everything is cause and effect. If you want a result, you have to physically take the actions to make that result. We've actually moved into a new paradigm where we're in the energy model. And so that's actually not the way things work. Where how things really work is that we're energetic beings, and our energy can take a lot of the action for us, but we have to know how to step into that energy, how to embody that energy, how to let it work for us. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
So
And
it's a whole paradigm shift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those of you that are listening, they're like, yeah, I'll just get some energy work and it'll be easy. I think the myth there is that the commitment you make to yourself, the kind of deep work that usually accompanies this shift is powerful, is deep, is sometimes difficult. You've alluded to that, addressing patterns, intergenerational patterns, even in the lives that have lived before you, and choosing consciously what you want to embrace and what you want to let go of. But once that alignment is done, once that energy work is done, I have an inkling now, Cassie, of what you're talking about how things can move with grace and ease because you're ready to receive it. I don't know if
It's
that
also
language.
a practice, though, Jenny. You said that it's when that energy work is done, and just so that everybody knows, I don't think the work is ever done. If we're here to grow and evolve, we get to we talk a lot about peeling the onion layers, right? We get to we Cassie, you'll start with one client, right? And start peeling something off, and then something else comes up, and then we peel that off. And so I never see it as a done deal. It's like people who think, well, I go to church on Sundays and I'm really, religious and I believe, but then, then they leave the church and they start yelling at the guy down the street because they're, mowing their lawn too early the next morning or something, right? We don't separate those boxes. Is that correct, Cassie?
Yeah. We're never done. And that's why I always tell my clients, none above, none below. I'm not better than you. I'm not more evolved. I'm not more woke. I'm not more healed. I think that when you put people on a pedestal like that, it makes it seem like somebody's there and you need to get there. And it's like, no.
That's so true.
From my perspective, and this is just my perspective, so it doesn't have to be anybody else's. We live many, many lives, and we're cosmic beings, and we're going to constantly evolve. Like you said, we're here to evolve and grow. And that's a process that never ends.
You said something before the call, and I want to put it on the record here, and I say it as well. We are spiritual beings living a human existence. We're not humans living a spiritual existence, and that really puts that spirituality front and center, that we exist as a continuum. We are part of something so much bigger, call it whatever you will. And the other part that you said that really stuck with me was subconscious reprogramming. What the heck is that?
It is the best.
It is totally the best. It is so good. And it relates to all the stories that we tell ourselves, right?
Yeah. So basically, I'll make it a very quick synopsis. The subconscious mind. So from the time you're born until you're about 7 or 8, you're just a walking subconscious mind. You're just a sponge. So everything that's said to you, everything you see, everything you feel is recorded into your subconscious mind. And that is literally the stories and beliefs you will probably have for the rest of your life. So if you look at most of your beliefs, you can trace them back to, oh yeah, when I was 5, this is how my parents' relationship was. Next thing you know, that's what plays out for your whole life. Or when I was little, this is what my parents said about money. That's the story you're going to play out for the rest of your life, because we're like computers. At the most basic level, we're computers, and we kind of just download whatever's given to us, the software that's given to us. So unless we learn how to tap into our subconscious mind, we just run that software forever, and we call it creating our life. But you're not creating your life. You're actually on a program, and you're doing what you were basically taught to do. So with subconscious reprogramming, it's going in and intentionally changing those programs that are no longer serving you. They served you probably up until some point. Like, for example, I had a really strong belief that I'm the hardest worker in the room. I'm the hardest worker. I will work harder than everybody, and that served me to a certain point, because it helped me build a really great business. But then eventually it didn't serve me anymore, because
it won't get you to the next point.
No. Yeah. What got me here won't get me there. And so a lot of the women I work with are, 6 figures. They want to go to 7. You can't go to 7 on hustle, so the program that got you here, you have to learn how to shift out of that and choose a new belief, a new program. So that's a very basic explanation.
Question, Cassie, for the moms in the room and anyone who's expecting when you say that our stories are created from birth in those first years, do you feel pressure as you are going to have another baby? And like, I hear moms like, oh my God, I messed up my child. They're already teenagers. It's too late.
Oh, no, because the perspective I have, it's easy to get into that thinking, but the perspective I have is we have to look at it from like a really higher ground. Your child incarnated with you for a reason at the time that they did. And if things were meant to be different,
They would have been.
They would have been.
They would have been. That's true.
Exactly.
It's so
somebody
true.
somebody said something recently about, oh, there she is back, but I'm going to leave this quote here, that your children do not belong to you.
Yeah, they do not.
That that just stopped me in my tracks. The children do not belong to me. How often do we feel this crazy responsibility, right?
Yes.
For children.
Yes.
And
I
I
mean,
think-
at a certain point, we are responsible for our kids, right? But at a certain point, once they do, get to a certain age where they're making their own decisions, and
But
even
they're
when
not-
they're making decisions when they're young.
Yeah, they're not there to serve
not-
our needs. That's what I'm
No,
trying to say, right? Like,
no.
how often do we kind of see it that way? I do think children were brought into our lives to grow us or to teach us things. When I think of my children, the way they've stretched me,
Are
and
they your best
expanded
teachers?
me. Oh my God, they are absolutely my best teachers. And, I used to feel a lot of guilt about this subconscious programming piece of it. And I am letting that go now, because my parents and my family did the very best they possibly could for me. And there's a compassion bucket that I have readily available. And I freely admit, I think Cassie would too, that, similarly, my parents wanted only the best for me, and I want only the best for my kids. And we're all bound to screw up because we're human. It's how we manage and how we shape those conversations that really matter. So
there's a lot of talk now, and you mentioned it and alluded to it at the beginning about the generational healing. And because we're born of our mothers are born of their mothers. When babies are born now, they're like, so much of those past stories from people that are still not even alive anymore are in their DNA. And it's a very profound work when you start delving into what those stories and releasing. Sometimes we have trapped emotions, like we talked about at the beginning, and they're sometimes not even ours. They've lingered from generation to generation. My grandmother, who escaped Europe on foot and had a whole family killed behind her. Well, imagine what that does to her cells, right? And the children that she has. Oh, anyway, it's so amazing.
Am I back?
You're back, Cassie. You're back.
I connected to a different Wi-Fi, so let's see if
that's
it works
funny.
better.
But you gave us such a great subject, and we just riffed a bit on subconscious programming. So to pick up on that comment, Sylvia, and then I'm going to pass it back to you, Cassie. So I am an executive coach, so I am interested in, I am reading about neuroscience and neurology and all those kinds of things to help my clients create change. And what I find so fascinating is there is empirical scientific proof to what you're talking about, Sylvia, about this intergenerational. It manifests in our chromosomes. We used to think the brain was finite. We are now realizing that it has far more adaptive elements, and we are societal beings that pick up on all of these energies that Cassie was talking about. So if you're a science-based, show me the empirical evidence, there is proof.
It's there.
The book I'm speaking of is Coaching with the Brain in Mind. It's by David Rock. And I'm loving this conversation. Worlds colliding. Cassie, tell us, we were talking a little bit about babies. Tell us about your decision to find a hypnotherapist for your birth, because that's a difference between the first child and the second child, correct? Am I right?
Yeah. So for this pregnancy, I'm already a hypnotherapist. So I actually just purchased a hypnosis to help with fertility from a friend. So I didn't actually have a whole session. I knew, I just need like a 15-minute hypnosis and then it'll be fine. So I just did that really quick. And because like I said, I had trouble getting pregnant. Then I miscarried a few times. And I did the hypnosis and I got pregnant very easily. And I'm due at the end of February. So, yeah, you can use it for all sorts of things. But for me, it was, I was kind of like, well, why not try it? I use it for everything else, And so anytime really hypnosis is allowing you to communicate with your subconscious mind. So anytime we're not creating outcomes we want in our life, in any of our life, it means that we're out of rapport with our subconscious mind. So I just looked at, okay, maybe I'm out of rapport with my subconscious mind on this particular, thing in my life. So I did a hypnosis, and it was awesome.
I think of it, I look at it, lots of it for fertility, isn't there? And I look in my business, and the women, a lot of it is around using our voices and being confident. So using hypnosis to create confidence, to, eliminate the limiting stories that we have, perhaps around money. Jenny, I know, there's a lot of so many, like every aspect that we talk about in this podcast, there's a hypnosis for it.
What's the difference between hypnosis and setting intentions?
That's a great question. So I guess technically when you're in hypnosis, you could set your intentions. But the thing about setting intentions is you can do that anytime throughout the day all long, right?
Yep.
When you're in hypnosis, you could definitely set your intentions. I guess it is somewhat similar. And there's a lot of power in setting our intentions because we're energetic beings. And so when you're setting your intention, you're basically directing your life force energy on what to do and where to go.
Right.
And I used to think that was a bunch of woo, but like you, I'm somebody who needs evidence. So when I work with my clients, I actually walk them through the science because I'm like, you need to understand. I want you to know that this isn't made up. That's what I did. So once I understood the science behind the energy of things, I was like, oh, that's how intention works. Like that makes sense. And also going back, you just said something about pregnancy brain. I was going to say something about hypnosis with an energy block. Because that's what I was going to say. When you're struggling to use your voice in your business, one of the other things that I work a lot with my clients on is clearing energy, which people don't realize hypnosis is actually a type of energy work, interestingly enough. But also that could be an energy piece. Like if you have a trapped emotion in your throat chakra or something like that, you can also go into energy work to clear that out as well. And that can be really, really powerful.
I had a client recently talk about, and people don't know about hypnotherapy, I think. And a lot of this is listening to to meditations and self-hypnosis tracks to help you change your stories. I had suggested this to her and she said, I do not want anyone controlling my thoughts, right? So hypnosis, we talked about having a session with someone, and people have that belief, I think, and that comes from the illusionists, wouldn't that? Because no one can control our thoughts. But when you see people on stage crowing like a rooster, their thoughts being controlled or their actions. Can you talk a little bit about that?
That was the fear I had with my first hypnosis session. I literally went into it and I was like, I'm really scared because I don't want you to like tell me something and program me with something that I'm not going to want. So the thing about hypnosis is it's exactly like meditation. The only difference is with meditation, your intention is to maybe do energy work or just silence the mind. Versus hypnosis, your intention is to reprogram. But if you're working with a hypnotherapist or you're listening to a track, if we could control people with hypnosis, the government would use, let's be honest, the government would have figured that one out by now and they'd be doing it. You go into hypnosis all day, multiple times a day. When you're driving, it's called highway hypnosis.
And you tune out.
When you're daydreaming, that's a form of hypnosis. I can't make anybody go into hypnosis. Actually, all hypnosis is self-hypnosis. You're actually hypnotizing yourself. My job as a hypnotherapist is just to guide you. But you have to choose to go into hypnosis. And if you choose not to, that's okay too.
Then you won't.
It's all up to you. I cannot hypnotize somebody. Nobody can. It's not a thing.
It's so relaxing. Everyone listening, go and try it out. Even if you don't want to have a session, just there's lots of places online that you can get some tracks. So relaxing and getting that state. We don't go into that state often enough.
Yeah, it's just a slowing of the brain waves. It sounds so mystical. It's just slowing your brain waves down so that your critical part of your brain, your analytical mind, kind of goes to sleep, drifts off, daydreams, and it gets to the subconscious part of your mind, the part of your mind that you can that's really in control of your life. So it's nothing to be scared of.
And using a slightly different language, the subconscious mind is the oldest part of your mind. It's the part that's kept you safe. It's the part that's kept you fed and clothed and part of a community. But sometimes that programming from those way back when days doesn't serve you anymore, like you were saying, Cassie. And the theme I'm taking away from this interview is really about Sylvia, we've been talking a lot about this. It's your choice, right? Choosing where you want to go, choosing the tools you want to use. For anyone listening thinking, oh, I couldn't tell my partner or my husband about this, hooey, it's for you. It's for you to grow. And the theme of this topic, integrating spirituality for massive success with Cassie. Like, Cassie, you have had such an incredible, I think it's worth saying, incredible journey in your very young life, birthing businesses, birthing babies. What's next for you? So I always like to ask this question at sort of near the end of, how will you be using and showing up for your next 50 years? What's most important for you for next year and beyond?
Oh, that's a really good question. So what I've been working on is well-being. My highest value is well-being, which was never the case before, even as a fitness coach. So to me, well-being means being spiritually well, emotionally well, at peace, just at peace. I spent, my 20s not at peace because I was always working so hard and trying so hard. And even hearing you say that I'm successful or I've created this success is very uncomfortable for me, because I look at how far I want to go and I'm like, I haven't done anything yet. Like, I have so much I want to do. But I also have to balance that with the fact that, we're not human doings, we're human beings. So for me, it's just, being present with my family, being present with my well-being, but also at a bigger scale. I feel like a lot of us are here to be light workers. And so it's up to us to step into that and help humanity out. Not that I think I'm Gandhi, I'm not, but I feel like I can help, even just one person. And that to me would make my life have meaning. So that's kind of what I focus on.
Wow. What strikes me when she speaks, Sylvia, is the simplicity of her message. There's a quiet, not quiet volume, but calm peace, definitely, but just a simplicity that I acknowledge that you're on the right track. And I just want to thank you for bringing that to us today on the Your Next 50, and for being such a great beacon for other people, shining your light. We talk about that here, and I'm so glad you're part of our community now. It's a real pleasure to have you
for having me. It's been fun, even with sorry about the Wi-Fi hiccups.
It's all good.
Cassie, you have an upcoming masterclass. I'm putting this here. What is this all about?
Yes, that's actually a masterclass I just ran. If you click on it, you'll get instant access to it. So this is for anybody listening who wants to understand more about how to reach their next level of success while dropping the hustle, because it's not about doing more to get to your next level. Especially you guys listening, you're driven. You're not the person who needs to do more. So it's teaching you how to create your next energetic breakthrough using subconscious reprogramming. But also in that, I'm going to show you exactly why you haven't yet. Because that was the part that frustrated me, is like, I do all the things. Like, why am I not there yet? And it was because the being doing all that doing, I had a lot of shifts I had to make. I had a lot of stories I had to drop. I was working from scarcity energy. I had blocks around money. There was all sorts of things. So in that, by the end of the masterclass, you'll be like, oh, I know exactly why I'm not quite there. I know how I can shift that.
So we're going to put this link into the notes. It sounds amazing. I'm going to go and take this class. I always love to see what's out there. Thank you so much, Cassie, for starting this conversation. This is our first episode. Really, we talk about spirituality here and there, but really a whole episode focused on it. I don't think it's our last.
Nope.
I think, as you mentioned, if we want to bust the glass ceilings, we need new tools. And there is a shift on this planet. And Jenny, that is why I don't think we were doing this when we were 30, because it was not, that shift on the planet had not happened yet. And it's only been recently that there has been this shift, that we are talking about light workers and those beacons. And then, so Cassie, it's normal that you're 30 now, or I can't remember how old you are, but, and then we're, 50, 49, 50. But we're happy it's happening at the same time.
and
Right.
gives me hope for my girls too. I've got two
Yes.
girls, teenagers, and real hope for that and excitement around this and using all of your tools, your feminine, your masculine. I also encourage folks to listen to Cassie's podcast. I think it's called
Mm.
The Magic in Your
The
Business. Is that right,
magic in your
Cassie?
business.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun if you're interested in learning more about her and the work that she does. So before we let everyone go and before we thank Cassie, just a reminder, we so appreciate our audience. We are so grateful to be a part of your world. Many people have said to me, Sylvia, they love the podcast format and they love being able to walk and listen. So thank you. Please do subscribe if you haven't yet. And also, I always encourage you, if there's a friend of yours that you want to pass this podcast on to, or this particular one, share it with them. We'd be so super duper grateful.
Yes, this is how Jenny and we bring you content. It's free content and we do it with love and we just are so thankful. Please give us a 5-star rating. You can go to Apple and we've got a great show, which is totally on a different spectrum, Cassie, because you talked to us, you were pregnant and we're starting, and many of our listeners are starting the hot flashes and the, it's called perimenopause.
No, but that is such a good topic because I watched my mom and my family go through it. And I think, well, I have my own opinions on it, but just in general, I think there's a better way to support women. And I'm going to go through that. And I'd like to feel like more supported than I know that they felt.
Oh, yes. So we have the lovely Dr. Anna Garrett, I believe, coming next week. And she's got a book out called Perimenopause. And she also teaches holistic approaches to this. And it's all about bringing back your mojo. And, we're really looking forward to this.
Yeah, she's in your neck of the woods. I can't remember exactly where she is, Cassie, but I think she's North Carolina. So near you, right? It's like you're down that way, aren't you?
In Ohio?
No, you're in Ohio. Okay. Pardon me.
Us Canadians don't know. We don't know what that looks like down there.
They're just really close to each other. Anyway, so as I remove my
like
foot from
up
my
in
mouth.
Canada, Jenny. We all have. Oh, there's a polar bear walking by here. There's a polar bear just here, and a moose.
I love it. And anyway, I'm really excited about this conversation. Actually, let me take that back. I am nervous about this conversation. Sylvia says, let's do menopause. And I say, no.
She said no. She wrote
said no.
No, I do not want to talk about this. And I'm like, really? I want to talk about this because I think a lot of us are going through it. And it's just another phase of life. And it's going to be a beautiful phase.
Why don't you want to talk about
I know, that's what I told her.
What's
Why
available
don't you?
for you once you sit with that? What are you running from? I want to know all the reasons why.
Yeah, we're not having that Cassie girl back, just to say.
Oh, yes, it's going to be fun.
Kidding.
So join us next week. Thank you so much. Thank you, Cassie. And again, have a wonderful week, everybody. And we'll catch you on the next show.
Yeah, thanks. Bye, guys.